Okay, Fulham Newcastle in the FA Cup fourth round at Craven Cottage this evening. This match summed up both teams' seasons up to this point, which is inconsistent and up and down, but not fulfilling expectations back in August. Newcastle obviously have had their first European campaign in a while, so they've played more games. Their squad depth has been tested. They have got players out injured and suspended, and it looks like they're going to be selling in this transfer window before the deadline, most likely because of the new financial fair play and profit and sustainability rules. And they are trying to, do this organically with the new takeover and the new ownership. Fulham haven't taken that next step, which they could have done from last season. They had a very good first season back in the Premier League. They've been stop-start this season as well. Goal scoring has been their issue, and it's been their issue again tonight. Very good for two-thirds of the field, and the final third, not good enough. Newcastle, great off set play, great off quick pace, one, two, maybe three pass counter attacks. Other than that, in long phases of possession, they just could not keep the ball. They were very, very clunky in possession until the second goal goes in. When the second goal goes in, and for a brief period after their first goal in the first half, for the majority of the game in possession, lengthy spells of possession, Newcastle did struggle. However, they won the game 2-0. They put out the strongest available team available to Eddie Howe because of injuries and suspensions. Fulham made 7 changes from the League Cup semi-final against Liverpool. Now, Newcastle have had a full 2-week winter break. Fulham have obviously played some games in the winter break period because of their League Cup exploits. Now, game itself, Dubravka's had a good game, I felt. Pulled off a very, very good save in the first half. Fulham were on top for the majority of the first half. It's just that final third. It is the final third that is letting Fulham down. Are they regretting letting Mitrovic go? That is a big question for Fulham fans. Newcastle's end of things, you can see the squad depth is being tested. The Champions League campaign clearly tested them. And of course, to be compliant with financial fair play and profit and sustainability rules, they're not really throwing the cash around like back in the day, like a club would do. They're looking like very likely to sell players in this window now. Almiron, for example, was not available. Lascelles wasn't available tonight. Toniato is obviously suspended for his gambling breaches. So some key players are out for Newcastle that would have made a noticeable contribution. But it's Sean Longstaff that opens the scoring on 38 minutes. Now, yes, there is an accidental handball in the build-up, but under the current interpretation under the Premier League and FA rules, it doesn't necessarily mean that the goal was ruled out unless it's a clear, deliberate handball in the build-up. It's an accidental handball in the build-up. They've changed the interpretation again of handball leading to a goal. Now, if that was in a Champions League game, which obviously Newcastle would have played earlier this season, that goal would not have stood. It does stand. Now, the issue that here it plays, VAR has followed the current interpretation of hand rule, and that's the current interpretation of the laws of the game, whereas accidental handball seems to have disappeared from the game altogether pretty much. If that was a Fulham defender that accidentally, bounces off his arm and, the play carries on, back in the day, that used to be an indirect free kick in the box because it was accidental, and that actually was a law in the game. They've changed that interpretation as well. VAR would have probably pinged that as a penalty. So VAR's got involved. There's some debate, obviously, all season about VAR. We've had some howlers, but actually, under the current interpretation of the rules, the goal stands, and it's a very good finish by Sean Longstaff. All the Fulham players stop. They don't play to the whistle. That's a rookie. That's a under sevens mistake. Let's be honest. You're told at school or in a youth team, play to the referee's whistle. They all stop. They start appealing for a handball. Sean Longstaff just goes, sod it, I'm just going to put my foot through it. It's a very good finish, actually, but Fulham should have played to the whistle there. Tried to close him down. He's allowed a free swing at that, and that's a very, very good finish. And that was on 38 minutes, and that was Newcastle's brightest spell, was that end of the first half, because Jacob Murphy has a goal ruled out for offside. Again, VAR checks that, but it was obvious. I do not like this directive to the assistants for late offside flagging. We are going to see some injuries with follow-throughs when players run through and a keeper or defender comes out. We have seen that happen. He puts the ball in the net, then the flag goes up. But because he's put the ball in the net before the whistle's gone, before the flag is raised, again a VAR check, it's obvious he's offside, it is a correct decision. But there's that period where that first goal by Longstaff goes in and Murphy's disallowed goal, Newcastle have come to life a little bit. The goal has sparked them into life. and they're starting to string phases of play together. They looked very, very good off set plays like corners and free kicks, but in general possession, building possession and building, territory, clunky, misplaced passes, uncertain. I wouldn't say unconfident, but not quite at the races. And you can see that squad depth is being tested with players out. Fulham, it's just the final third. They can't put the ball in the back of the net. Now, after half time, Willian does put the ball in the back of the net, but the whistle had already gone for an offside. Had he put the ball in the back of the net before the whistle goes, very similar to Jacob Murphy, it would have been disallowed anyway. And that showed that, hey, they can put the ball in the back of the net, it just the whistle had already gone, but it was a very good finish by Willian. He had to come on as a substitute. There was a few injury concerns for Fulham in this game. But again, while they're behind 1-0, Fulham are dominating the possession. They look more competent in possession. They look more settled in possession. They had great build-up play. Just the final third, they cannot put it in the back of the net. On Newcastle's side of things, they look better off quick-paced counter-attack, maybe 3-4 passes maximum, and make an opportunity. Long spells of possession, they were struggling. They're not quite clicking together. However, the Dan Burn goal comes from a corner. They look better from set plays. Again, much like the Sean Longstaff goal, the Fulham players just don't react. The goalkeeper makes a very, very good save, but all the Fulham players stand still, and Dan Burn is just left there, no pressure on him, and he smashes it in the back of the net from a couple of yards out. Again, Fulham defensively stopped. There was no competition for that second ball, that second attempt. There was no pressure on the Newcastle players. The Newcastle players were switched on. The Fulham players just stand still, and that is a problem. That has undone Fulham today. After that, Newcastle looked better in possession. They looked a little bit more settled, a bit more comfortable, but they were still second best in the possession stakes and building phases of play. Fulham just looked toothless up front. That final third. Are they regretting letting Mitrovic go? That is, I think, a big blunder when it comes to building a squad and maintaining a squad and player retention. Are they regretting Mitrovic leaving? Now, obviously, the lures for Saudi Arabia financially for players is there, but he was key for them last season. He was a very big focal point, and they're lacking that focal point. But Newcastle, hey, good win against Sunderland in the last round. Really good win against Fulham. Dan Burns, obviously an ex-Fulham player. That would have meant something. And most of the atmosphere this evening, I will end on this. The Ipswich Town Maidstone United game, sellout. Fantastic atmosphere. Both sets of fans, really fantastic. Fulham Newcastle, a lot of empty seats, especially in one of the main stands. Most of the upper tier was empty. Newcastle sold out their allocation. They travel well anyway. They would have taken the whole stadium if they could. But the Fulham allocation, being the home side, a lot of empty seats, very noticeable, and also a lack of atmosphere from Fulham fans. It was mostly Newcastle fans from the first whistle to the final whistle making all the noise. Very noticeable, but there were a lot of empty seats. Now, I do know there was a lot of transport disruption. I was planning to go visit some friends today, actually. There's no trains from where I live. I know there is a lot of engineering works and rail strikes at the moment, a lot of travel disruption. Has that had a part to play in the empty seats at Craven Cottage, or is it ticket price? That's interesting. But after all, Newcastle through to the next round, 2-0 win. A scrappy 2-0 win by Newcastle, but it's a win nonetheless. It's a confidence-boosting win. Can that help get their season back on track? Can they target the FA Cup for silverware? They're not probably going to qualify for Europe as things currently stand with their league form. Could this be a gateway to get them a second consecutive European season and potentially win a trophy? Obviously, they made the League Cup final last year. Can this reignite their season? Fulham, it's been a bad week for Fulham. Losing a semi-final in the League Cup and now losing in the fourth round of the FA Cup in the manner that they did. It's been a bad week for Fulham. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts in the comments section below, and we'll have some more content for you very, very soon.